Hello everyone, this is Cameron Giardini with Giardini Medicare, where we are your transition to Medicare team. And sometimes when you're transitioning to Medicare, you may actually be hit with sticker shock. And the reason for this is not only do some people not realize that Medicare does come with a monthly premium, but if you are a higher income earner, you will actually be charged more for your Medicare Part B and Part D coverage based on your income threshold. So we wanted to make this video to talk about not only what those charges are if you have a higher income, but how to appeal those surcharges if you have in fact lowered your income when you are transitioning to Medicare. So let's jump in and talk a little bit more about how to appeal your IRMAA charges. The first thing we need to talk about is how your income can impact what you actually pay for Medicare. So we often talk about it, but Medicare Part A is typically premium free. You've paid in your taxes, and that typically comes at no cost when you're finally eligible. Now, with Part B, many of you are already aware that you do have a monthly premium with Part B, and the base rate for 2020 is $144.60 per month. Now, I just said that is the base rate, so it is important to realize that this number can be impacted by your modified adjusted gross income. So what happens is every year the Social Security Administration, they will look at your tax returns reported by the IRS from 2 years ago. So here we're looking at 2020 Medicare premiums, and you can see this is based on 2018 federal tax returns. So if your modified adjusted gross income is above the lower threshold on this chart, you will pay more for Part B during the year 2020 or whatever year we are calculating your income for. You can see that for individuals, the lower threshold is $87,000 per year, and if you file joint taxes as a married couple, that lower threshold is $174,000 per year for your modified adjusted gross income. Now, not only is the Part B premium affected by your modified adjusted gross income, but what you pay for drug coverage is also impacted. So we're still looking at the federal returns from 2 years ago, but if you get Medicare prescription drug coverage, whether it is Part D or through a Medicare Advantage plan, you can see on this chart, you will have to pay an additional amount per month if your modified adjusted gross income is above the lower threshold we just talked about. And again, this is a little different than Part B because instead of a flat rate, you can see here that this is in addition to whatever your premium is. So quick example, if you make $300,000 modified adjusted gross as a married couple, you file joint, then that means they will add $50.70 per month to whatever your prescription drug premium is. Now, there are plenty of factors that go into this, and again, this video is how to appeal IRMAA surcharges, so stick around and we'll talk a little bit more about these details. Before talking about what modified adjusted gross income is, I wanted to show you this from Medicare.gov that essentially talks about how Social Security and the IRS coordinate to look at your returns from 2 years ago to determine your current Medicare premiums. Now let's shift a little bit to calculating your modified adjusted gross income or your MAGI. So this is not going to be found on an actual tax form, but you can calculate it using your adjusted gross income from your Form 1040 provided by the IRS. And before going any further, we are not tax professionals. If you have any specific questions on this, of course, refer to your CPA or accountant or whoever prepares your taxes, and they can help determine your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years ago. So if we're trying to determine 2020 premiums, again, we have to look at 2018. So for 2018, your adjusted gross income can be found on line 7 of your Form 1040. And then what you'll need to do to calculate your modified adjusted gross income, according to the website thebalance.com, you have to add in these certain deductions as you can see on the screen here. Now again, there may be other things you can do to calculate this, but we are not tax professionals, so we are going to leave it here for this video. So you may have already calculated your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years ago, and you're now realizing that you are in fact above the thresholds that we talked about early on in this video, and you will expect to pay more for Medicare Part B and prescription drug coverage. Now, I'm sure your next question is, when will I be notified of these surcharges and how do I pay for them, or even how do I appeal them? So let's talk about that next. It's important to note, and you can see on the IRS website here, that oftentimes when you're starting Medicare, you will actually get your normal Part B and prescription drug premiums before you get the IRMAA adjusted levels. So what this means is that if you are drawing Social Security benefits, the standard 144.60 per month may be coming out of your benefits in order to pay for your Part B, but that is because your modified adjusted gross income has not yet been calculated by the IRS and transferred over to Social Security. And likewise, if you're not drawing Social Security benefits, this means you may get a bill in the mail when you're first starting out that is for $144.60 per month, but that is simply because your IRMAA determination has not yet been made. Also, remember that if you're not drawing benefits, that your Medicare premium bill is actually a quarterly bill, so it'd be 144.60 times 3. What then happens is once the IRS transfers your data over to Social Security and they have determined that you are in fact at a higher modified adjusted gross income and you are due to receive an IRMAA surcharge, you will receive a letter called a predetermination notice from the Social Security Administration. So let's look at an example of what that notice actually looks like right now. Here's an example of the notice you can expect to receive if you are in fact getting an IRMAA surcharge based on your modified adjusted gross income. And again, this will apply to your Part B premium and your prescription drug premium with Medicare. You will see on this notice that it only applies for a 1-year period only, and that is because the IRS and Social Security are constantly looking 2 years ago to determine your modified adjusted gross income to see if these IRMAA surcharges still apply. So next year in 2021, you can expect they will be still looking at your 2019 tax returns to determine if your income is still above the minimum thresholds that we talked about. So in 2021, they will be looking at your 2019 tax returns to determine if your modified adjusted gross income is still above the minimum thresholds that we talked about. Now, one thing to point out real quick is that those thresholds do change every year, so make sure you're staying up to date and you know exactly what income levels will put you into a different bracket when it comes to Medicare premiums. Going further into the notice, you will see that it shows the base rate for Medicare Part B is $144.60 per month, and then based on this person's tax return, they are adding an additional $231.40 per month to their Medicare Part B premium. In addition to that, you can also see that $50.70 per month will be added to whatever their prescription drug premium happens to be. And again, on the next portion of the notice, you can see this is just another example of the table we talked about in the beginning of the video, and it shows you what you can expect to pay in surcharges based on your modified adjusted gross income and how you file taxes. Now, lastly, this is an example of the Medicare premium bill that they received based on the IRMAA initial notice that they also got. And you can see here that their Part B medical insurance for a 1-month period is set to be $376 per month. So this is obviously higher than the base rate of $144.60 that most people tend to pay. Now, in addition to that, there's the $50.70 per month for prescription drug coverage, which you can see in the category IRMAA Part D. And then this gives you a total monthly estimate for what you will actually pay for Medicare based on your modified adjusted gross income and the base rate for Medicare. Now it's time to cover one of the most important parts of this video, and that is, of course, how to submit a request for reconsideration for IRMAA. Oftentimes we refer to this as an IRMAA appeal, but really an appeal applies more to when you feel that Social Security made their calculations based on incorrect IRS data such as incorrect income being reported to Social Security from the IRS. Now, on the other hand, a request for reconsideration can occur because of a life-changing event. Requesting an IRMAA reconsideration due to a life-changing event begins with SSA Form 44, which we will have linked to in the description. But you can see here the different types of life-changing events, with the most common one generally being work reduction. We have mentioned many times that Social Security determines your premiums based on your tax returns from 2 years in the past. Well, what tends to happen is someone may apply for Medicare when they're retiring and their income is no longer going to be above the threshold that made them receive the IRMAA surcharge in the first place. In this situation, you can complete SSA Form 44 for a work reduction and then show what your new income and modified adjusted gross income will be during the current year. You can see in step 4, you will need to show supporting documentation, which can consist of pay stubs or a letter showing you will be retiring or limiting the amount of hours you are working and thus lowering your yearly income. We always recommend completing this form and bringing it to your local Social Security office so they can process your request while you are there in person. Please don't rely on the mail for something that is this important and can literally save you thousands of dollars. Oftentimes, we have clients make a successful appeal based on a life-changing event, and they have their Medicare premiums lowered to match their income for the current year instead of waiting an additional 2 years for the IRS reporting to reflect your change in income. If you have any questions or think you may qualify for a life-changing event, please just give us a call and we can walk you through this entire process. Now let's finish this video with a quick recap. In the beginning, we said that individuals with a modified adjusted gross income above $87,000 per year and married couples that file jointly with a modified adjusted gross above $174,000 per year are subject to IRMAA charges for both Medicare Part B and Part D premiums or prescription drug premiums. Next, Social Security will notify you if the IRS has sent them your modified adjusted gross income data and they have determined that you do have an IRMAA surcharge. It is pretty hard to actually request the redetermination before the initial determination has been made, so sit back and actually wait for the initial determination to be sent. Lastly, it is possible to request an IRMAA redetermination if you have a qualifying life-changing event. So just because you're receiving a surcharge does not mean you have to sit there and automatically pay it. There are plenty of circumstances where you will be able to lower the surcharges for your Medicare Part B and prescription drug premiums. So if you have found this video or any of our videos to be helpful, please give us a comment, like the video, and consider subscribing to our channel for more Medicare content. Until then, have a great day and we'll see you next time.